Hi guys, Kristen Brown here. Good to see you. I am coming on today to talk to you guys about spiritual tantrums. What is a spiritual tantrum? Why do we have them? What do they mean? Oh my goodness, I can see someone's already in the room right now. If you give me a little hello, I would love to say hello to you. Tap something in comments. Um, yeah, so today I wanted to talk to you about something that I deal with myself. And today was that morning. And when that happens to me, when something like that happens to me, I'm like, I got to get on live and talk about this to people because it's something that happens to all of us. And I think it's important that we talk about this and what this is so that we're not blindsided or freaked out or weirded out when these type of things happen to us, because they're normal, they're necessary, they're serving, and they're part of the spiritual journey. So what do I mean by a spiritual tantrum? What I mean by that is I'm going to try to unpack this because it can be a little, I don't want to say complicated, that's not the right word, but it can be, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So a spiritual tantrum is when things aren't going the way we want them to go. And we kind of basically fall onto the ground and figuratively we kick and scream. We kick our feet, we pound the ground with our fists, we act like little babies, because guess what we are? We're little baby humans toddling around this earth doing the best we can. We have wants and desires and things that we want to experience, and sometimes we move forward a little bit and then we move backwards a little bit, and then we move forward a little bit and then we move backwards a little bit. And if we feel like we're in this buffering cycle where we're getting the same experiences over and over and over again, it is normal to get frustrated. It is normal to have yourself a little spiritual tantrum. And the most important thing is not to judge yourself when this happens. Because I have learned, the one thing I know for sure is that judgment of self never does anything. If anything, it keeps us stuck, it keeps us going backwards, and it keeps our pattern repeating. So when you find yourself in a spiritual tantrum, what do you do? What do you do? Do you just wait until it passes? There could be some wisdom in that, right? Because there is something about feeling things from the start to the finish. There is something about really valuing your emotions in that moment and sitting with that and saying, I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm mad, I'm bored, I'm stuck, I'm whatever it is. Because identifying the emotion can lead to the solution. Emotions are extremely serving on our path. And unfortunately, there's something that a lot of people push aside. They don't want to feel. People don't want to feel things because it doesn't, some of these emotions are heavy and dense and they don't feel great. If you noticed, I didn't call emotions negative because there is no wrong emotion and there is no negative emotion, which would imply that this emotion is not good for us. There's just some that are a little bit more heavy and dense than other emotions. But what a lot of people do is they bypass. They'll do something to not feel this thing that they're feeling because it doesn't feel great. But what a lot of us don't know is that emotion, the density of an emotion, quite literally, if felt fully, will pass in about 60 to 90 seconds. The problem is that we bypass these emotions and we want to get back to feeling good. So we do things like we distract. We find instant gratification, whether it's from food or sex or some type of substance or shopping or whatever it might be. We do stuff to distract from these heavy emotions. And the problem is that we're pushing aside this signpost, this beacon that's in front of us, saying, look at me, look at me, look at me, something is out of balance. Somewhere I have stepped out of my higher self and I have stepped into the darkness. So anytime a dense or heavy emotion comes up for you, honor it. Honor it, sit with it and go, I'm feeling this way right now. And it's really important that we express that energy and do our best not to express it onto somebody. So this morning I was feeling some type of way. I really was. And I'm like, I'm going to the gym. I got up early. It was kind of still dark out. It was kind of cool. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go exercise in this. But this feeling started coming up inside of me where I was very frustrated. And I could feel myself wanting to cry. And I am not typically a crier. That's not good or not bad. It's just an is. And I could feel it. And I was like, oh, it's coming. This is good. And I grabbed myself a tissue. Here it is, my little balled up tissue. As I was walking out the door, there was a tissue box right there in the kitchen. I swiped a tissue because I could feel something coming. And I cried, and I cried, and I cried, and I had my tantrum, and I expressed my feelings, and then I got the density of that emotion out of my body. And then guess what happened? Because I was talking to God during this time too. I'm like, why is this happening? Why does this keep happening? Why this? Why that? Why that? Boo-hoo. Tantrum. But when I expressed the density of the emotion, I created space in my mind and in my heart and in my being for truth to come in. And because I asked, I started to get answers. You're up-leveling, Kristen. It's okay. Just be with this. You're up-leveling. And I went, I know that. I know that. But I had stepped away from that because I started to believe my self-defeating thoughts. Those thoughts weren't serving me. And I didn't know it because I was on this merry-go-round of it. I had got into momentum of self-defeat or negativity or whatever you want to call it, instead of the momentum of everything is always working out for me. Everything is purposeful. And I know enough now on my journey that I can be in one momentum or the other momentum. And it's not for me to judge where I'm at. It's not even for me to judge where I'm at when I'm in positive momentum. It's serving to remain neutral in observance of rather than calling it good or bad. So once I realized I was up-leveling, I felt this little piece of relief. And I thought, what's going on here? Where am I out of balance, out of alignment with my true self? And I realized something. There's some things that I want to teach and talk about that people may not like. That is going to upset the apple cart. That is going to push against people's egos and the way that they want things to be, because it feels like we have some semblance of control. And I tend to be a pioneer in life. I tend to be that person out front with my machete, hacking through the jungles, hacking through there first. I look back, sometimes there's some people with me doing the same thing, sometimes there's none. But I've always been led by spirit. And because I have such a great connection with that piece of me, that God piece of me, that I have an extremely difficult time. In fact, I can't even do it. I can't hang back with the people that are stuck. It's very hard for me, and it's hard energy for me to be around. And I know because, first of all, that's my issue, that it's hard energy for me to be around, because that's me still having some type of attachment. But it's also the fact that I want to keep moving forward. And this is why they say that we need to surround ourselves with positive people, not negative people. Because some of us aren't yet in the space where other people's negativity won't drag us down. Sometimes, in the higher enlightened people, they can sit with anybody. Doesn't matter. I'm not completely there yet. I dip in and out of it. Now, I'm not talking about coaching clients, you guys, just so everybody's completely clear here. I have zero issue holding space for people. Zero. Zero issue while someone's going through something. In fact, my heart is always wide open. I'm beaming out the love light because I get it. Okay? What I'm talking about is people that want to stay in the dark and they want to make you wrong because you're being in the light and you're moving forward. And I talk about this in one of my videos about losing friends on the spiritual journey, because there are people like that just want to stay stuck. Okay? So, and a lot of times those people that want to stay stuck want to make you wrong because they don't want your light is shining light on their darkness. So if their ego, it's not really like, sometimes it's not, most of the time it's not conscious, it's not coming from their personality, it's coming from their ego, the ego side of themselves, where they're like, if I can make you wrong, that means I don't have to look at me. Okay? So this isn't about, when I talk about hanging out with negative people, this is not about, lost my train of thought, hold on. This is not about staying with people that are in a struggle. Because people that are in a struggle and they're just wanting help, it's about them. They're not pointing at you and making you wrong. So to circle back to what I was saying, I just made a couple reels on Instagram and I posted them to my shorts as well, where I was going to upset the apple cart a little bit. Because I realized, again, through the spiritual tantrum this morning, through my asking God, source, universe to give me an answer, crying, expressing that emotion, getting that dense energy out of my body, which thank you that I was able to cry and let that out. Felt really good. That's just an expression of energy, you guys. When you express that energy, okay, I'm just telling you right now that one of those reels that I posted that is going against the grain, it's going against what so I'm cracking up about this. Someone just pointed, I know this person from Wisdom, he just commented, he never comments on any of my shit, none of it. I mean, I think he might have a like here and there, but he just posted 3 100s, the little emojis. And this is what I'm talking about. That feels better to me than trying to play within this really small arena just to get the likes and the follows and the things like that. I need to speak up. I need to be this whole essence of me. I need to be a boat rocker because this is who I am. And when I'm fighting against that portion of me because of still old embedded people pleasing, desire for approval and to be liked, then I am not accessing a part of myself that I was put here to be. As well as you being put here to be you. There's many times I have wanted to put down being a content creator, a influencer, whatever you call us these days. I wanted to put it down. Because I was like, the people that are in the dark and they come firing out of nowhere, right? Someone did it on one of my YouTube shorts. She's like, that's not what this is. That is this. And recently someone else did something else. I don't know. I leave those comments unless they're hateful, unless they're mean, because that doesn't need to be in my energy. But I will leave those comments because they're allowed to think like that. They're allowed to believe that thing that they want. That's okay. Now, if they're being hateful towards me or being attacking or bullying, they're out of there. I just block and delete. I don't even talk. I don't care. Block and delete. Done. If it's harmful, I might, like, it really mean, like, I've seen some mean things on people's stuff. If there's only been a couple, but if I get a mean thing, I will report as bully. Because that's not what these social platforms are for. We're not always going to agree with each other, but we don't need to be a-holes. We don't. We can be kind. Because every single stinking one of us is on a spiritual journey. Hi, Julia. And we are on a spiritual journey, and we are doing and being exactly where we're supposed to do and be in this moment. We can't compare. Comparison is killer. When we start to compare ourselves with other people, we're going to lose. We're going to hurt ourselves. Have I done it? Yeah. Probably did it yesterday. And I'm still here. And I'm still moving forward. And I had myself a little spiritual tantrum this morning. I needed a pacifier and like a donut or something. I needed like my mommy to wrap me up in a blanket and make me feel safe and pet me and say everything is okay. And sometimes we have that and sometimes we don't. My mother's passed. But I always know she's with me and I always know that's possible. So if to be honest with you guys, if I ever feel like I need that, I will stop and I will imagine she's doing that. Yes, it's a process. But it's important to know that anytime that you are in a spiritual tantrum, it's okay. Because what comes from that is upleveling. God, universe, source says, whatever your energy is vibrating right now, sister, brother, you're ready. You're ready for the next step. And that next step, we can either fight against or we can show up for that next step. And we can fight against it first and then show up to the next step. Or we can stay fighting against it. We have free will. We get to do whatever we want. That's the whole purpose here. That's why I've met 20-year-olds that are wise beyond their years. I spoke with a 16-year-old on wisdom, 16 or 17, several times when I was heavy on the wisdom app. And I just constantly filled her. She had a mother pass away and she was lost. But what was coming out of her mouth was so much wisdom. She was being a conduit for spirit. I was like, yes, girl, yes, girl, yes, girl. Then I've talked to 80-year-olds that do not have their shit together whatsoever. Because we can either show up to the lesson or not. God's not judging us because there is no judgment in love. There is no judgment in the ethers. It's a non-thing. God, universe, loves you, loves me. We're all connected. It's not only that it's an act of I love you, it's just built in to the essence of God, universe, and who we are. It's the essence of who we are. So it's, a lot of times we think of God, universe, as this, age is just never not a reflection of the soul essence. Beautiful, yes. A lot of times we think, this love is bestowed upon us. Oh, God loves you, God loves you, God loves you. No. It's built into the essence of who we are because we broke away from that, which we never broke away from, but you get what I mean, when we jumped into a body, but it's still within us. But the human brain can jack us up from time to time. This laughing that you're seeing is because on the other side of my spiritual tantrums is always humor. Because we make way too much of this. Thanks, Julia. We make way too much of this. We get far too attached to things, to people, to having, to getting. And anytime we're in that, we're in our lower self because there is something that we are trying to get that, guess what? That is not the source. That is not the source. The boyfriend, the girlfriend, the thin body, the money, the amount of followers and likes. And this is one of the reasons why I think social media has been so incredibly serving. Because we're hearing a lot of crap about social media. A lot of crap about social media. Here's one of the reasons why it has been serving. Because inadvertently, it's been designed to show people, us, because I always try to use this as a collective. I don't want to pinpoint other people, because I remember doing this too. It is designed to show us where we are looking at false idols to make ourselves feel better. So I'm going to post this picture of me and this beach house or something. Oh my God, I only got 20 likes. But I posted a picture of my dog and I got 100. This is not me. Okay, I'm just making up a story. So I'm going to post more pictures of my dog so I can get more likes, because that fed my ego. That made me feel good. Rather than the energy of, I'm going to post what feels good in my heart, and I don't care. I'm not attached to what people respond to that. Here's what's interesting. Here's something I'm kind of not struggling with, and it's not even challenging. I would say I'm dealing with right now, is that I am a social media person. Obviously, I'm on a live right now on YouTube. And thanks, Julia. And so recently someone says to me, oh, you need to get YouTube's vidIQ. And it helps you with the hashtags and keywords and things like this. As soon as I got vidIQ, the views of my videos went down. I have a theory. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Because my soul went from posting based from my heart to, oh my God, I got to do it this way. Okay, the right keyword, the this, the that, the research, the crap that goes into all of this. I have a reminder on my phone even by Bashar. If you don't know who Bashar is the collective consciousness, and I might be getting this wrong, you guys, who is channeled through a guy named Daryl Anka, I think. It's kind of like Abraham is channeled through Esther Hicks. Okay? And it says something like this. Keep your heart... Okay, I could look at my phone, but I'm afraid I'd get out of you guys. Keep yourself focused on heart-centered intentions. Heart-centered intentions manifest as highly valuable in the world. And I have that reminder that pops up on my phone every single day. So when I tell you guys that I do the work, I do the work. All right? I remind myself of things. And when I read that quote, man, that was a quick type in my phone, set a reminder every day. I want to see that until that can sink in. I also put sticky notes on my mirrors. I put them in my car. I put them in you should see my workspace. I type stuff out and I put them on the wall on the desk, behind my desk. So if I look up, I can see them. You walk into my office and there's just like these pieces of paper plastered to my wall. But my point is that somebody suggested, oh, you need vidIQ. Okay, and I'm not saying it's wrong. I am not saying it's wrong. It's a really valuable thing. But yet, my brain started going, oh God, do it the right way. Can I tell you that the majority of what I do has never been through the right way? I didn't even know how to podcast when I started podcasting. Okay? I flubbed my way through that thing. My first episode was 7 minutes with a whole bunch of edits. I probably had to write it down before I even said it because I wasn't used to public speaking yet, blah, blah, blah. If you go through my 146, 7, 8 episodes that I have now, they're 20 minutes long. I could keep going like 45 minutes, whatever. But I leave that first episode there because I was learning. I like it. I listened to it recently, probably about 6, 8 months ago, just out of giggles, And I was like, look at little baby Kristen. She wanted to speak. She had something to say. And she wanted to do it verbally. Love it. Be flexible in the application. Yes. She wanted to do this, so I did it. But here's what I did. I did it all from my heart. All from my heart. And all of a sudden, clients out of nowhere. I still coach one to this day. My podcast's 4 years old. I'm working with her probably 3 years. Right? Intermittently. At first it's real close together, and then, people start to move. It depends. Oh, God. All right, there's a cat trying to... No, don't. If I just saw a cat got hit by a car, that would have not been good. Anyway, the car turned. Cute little kitty. Okay, so my point is that there is some sort of up-leveling involved with our spiritual tantrums. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you today is, one, to just be honest and open and vulnerable, because that's who Kristen is. But two, because when I figure something out, I always get excited. And I'm like, okay, there's an up-leveling happening here. And I've come so far in life. Cultivating my voice. Well, first of all, finding my self-worth, finding my true value, and being able to apply that into relationships, slam dunk now. I'm really good at that. But then something inside of me said, I want to talk about this. I want to teach this. I want to share this with people. And, let me add this. In the midst of all this, I was listening to a talk this morning, and the gal was reading from some book. I asked her what book it was, and she didn't respond, so I don't know. But she said, and I'm going to paraphrase this, it's not going to be correct, but it was something to the effect of, when we learn something, when we get to a place of truth, higher truth, that it's literally our job as part of the spiritual journey to teach it and to speak about it and to share it. And this was the weird thing, because I've not experienced this, but because if we don't, we become highly self-indulgent. Our focus becomes only self. So it's in that service, Julia agrees, it's in that service and in that giving energy that we will up-level even more. Because for some reason, if we keep it to self, it turns into only about self. And spiritual journey is about giving. That's why I say I will take wisdom. I don't care the age. I don't care if it's a 4-year-old. If a 4-year-old wants to call me out on my ish, bring it. I mean, I often say this about parenting. Parenting's not for babies. And it's also for the spiritual journey, because you parent, your kids are going to be reflections of you. And you're going to be like, you're going to see yourself up close and personal. But it's a good thing. And not everybody has chosen to be parents or can be for whatever reason. So I'm not saying you have to be a parent. I make a joke about this because, it's not for sissies. But that doesn't mean that you're not being shown things in your own life through different experiences. Because we're not all supposed to be parents here. Ooh, the tricky part is finding an audience who is willing to listen and learn. Julia, I have a feeling that you're a teacher, or a teacher in the process, or something. And if you are, sister, I just invite you to just start talking. Don't worry about finding the audience. Because people are going to listen. Even, like I said, where I am up. Oh, good deal. A good deal. Are you on YouTube? Am I following you on YouTube? Because I need to follow you. I need to subscribe to you. Or anywhere else you are. So the key is when you're in that space of everything sucks. Everything sucks. You're hating life. It's a bunch of BS. You're tired of the same old. Nothing seems to be changing. You're upset. You're frustrated, whatever it is. Then I say, right on. Good for you. Because your emotions are coming through. Do you know that there are some people that don't even feel emotions? The minute one creeps up, see it creeping right there? They will do something to push that thing down. They will oppress their emotions. I was married to one. He quite literally said to me, I said, do you not feel like this was some point in our journey. And he quite literally said to me, no. When I feel an emotion I don't like, I swallow. I put this in my book. This is in my book, The Recovering People Pleaser, that should come out very shortly. Can you believe we ran across another snag? For some reason, the ISBN number that is assigned to my book, because right now my publisher wants to send me a hard copy for the final go-through. She messaged me and said, okay, if your ISBN number is not going through for some reason. And I wanted, it's easy to just find talkers, it's everywhere, yeah. And I wanted to have a little tantrum over that, and I said back, you know what, I don't know what all these delays are for. I really don't. But I do know they're purposeful. Because that ISBN number, there should be nothing wrong with it. I purchased it, it's my book title is assigned to it. Everything should be set to go. And she's like, yeah, I'm trying to upload the book and it's saying there's something wrong with the ISBN. I'm like, oh my God. But it's purposeful. That's one thing I've learned on this journey, it's purposeful. But sometimes I forget. So the point is that this particular person said that they swallowed when that emotion came up. Literally swallowed. Because I could not get into depth with this person. I couldn't get deep with him. If everything was very, very topical, everything was about feeling good. Instant gratification over and 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 over again. Which you know is a detour from healing. It's the exact opposite. Hence why we're divorced. I grew, he didn't. Okay, not a bad human being. So the fact that you are in a space of spiritual tantrum and you're feeling some kind of, I'm calling it spiritual tantrum, you guys, you can call it anything you want. You can call it having a bad day. You can have it being in a mood. You can call it being in a mood. You can call it anything you want. Okay? I'm just calling it spiritual tantrum. All right? But if you're feeling the emotions of that, that is a pat on the back moment. Sit with the emotions. Figure out what they're all about. What are they saying? Rid yourself of the dense energy. Okay, now I'm just getting another reply on my reel saying, ooh, good one. I'm referring back to you guys of me stepping out of the box and ruffling some feathers. Okay? And where I finally said F it, because I'm referring back to the beginning of this broadcast where I was saying I was staying within, a wheelhouse of comfort or seeming comfort because I don't want to, push too many buttons or rock too many worlds or freak anybody out. So, but I just made a reel on Instagram and it's not even that big of a deal. You guys can be like, that real, Chris? But it's a big deal to some. I'll tell you what it is in a minute. Okay? But this other person just said, ooh, good one. Because it ignited something in her. I know her. Actually, she's a former client. Okay? So, my point is that feel those emotions, going back, feel those emotions when they come up, allow them to be what they are without judgment. I'm pissed, I'm frustrated, I'm annoyed, whatever it is, feel it through to fruition. Sit with it for 60 to 90 seconds, however long it takes for you. Could be 30. Get the dense energy out of your body. Ask God, source, spirit, universe. Okay, someone's pulling up behind me. Why? I'm on the side of a road. We'll see. If they come up and talk to me, you guys are going to hear it. Okay? I don't know what they're doing in their car. Looks like a female. Anyway, feel through to permission. Ask God, source, universe what this is all about and be open to the answer. Because there is a spiritual answer to every problem. There is a spiritual answer to every problem. And here's something else I've learned. It's usually, the spiritual answers are usually quite easy. Or I'm saying simple. Let me say simple. Because sometimes it's not so easy to implement depending. Oh, she got a purse and stuff. She's just going somewhere. She's going to someone's house. Are you going to see her walk by maybe? Why is she parking way over here? This is kind of weird. I'm on the side of a house in not my neighborhood. Anyway, okay, because that's what I do. So, what's the spiritual answer? My answer was, Kristen, you're upleveling. Oh, that again. We can allow this journey. Okay, here's the other thing. I got one message from one lady. Then one of my friends, Andy Dooley, was on Instagram, and when I was posting, I saw him came up, and I will always scroll down because he's such a delight. And I scrolled down, and he was saying, allow it to be easy. He was talking to Kristen Brown. He was talking to his friend Kristen Brown. Not literally, he's talking to the masses, but you get what I'm saying. I was like, duh. Kristen, you know this. But I needed that reminder. Allow it to be easy. Allow it to be easy. Because guess what? Thoughts become things. Beliefs become things. Whatever we are ruminating on, we're going to get more of. So when I heard that, I was like, okay, Andy, thank you. Yes, one day at a time, says Julia. I actually interviewed Andy on my podcast, if you guys are interested in watching it. I think it might be on my YouTube. If you look under my podcast playlist tab, it might be on, because I video record my podcast, and I take the audio and actually put them on my podcast. And if the person that I'm interviewing gives me permission to share the video, I share it on YouTube as well. There's lots of great interviews on there, you guys. If you haven't looked through, I wouldn't have anybody on my podcast that is not going to nail it. And these people know what they're talking about. So anyway, so how do we do this? Okay, let's say we've recognized we need an upleveling, or let's say we're still struggling. Let's say we're still struggling, and we're like, nope, I'm stuck in my story, I'm stuck in my emotions, I'm stuck in my boo-hoo, I'm still stuck. Okay, let's say we're in that space where we're still stuck. What do we do? Hands down, what I always say is spend time alone. If you saw the amount, you guys see me on here, I'm in my t-shirt because I'm usually leaving the gym and what have you. And I talk for quite a bit on my lives. So you guys might be like, oh, she must have this easy, flowy, cush life. There's a lot that I do in every single day. A lot. Being a coach, mentor, content creator, got to design things and talk to my designers and team and facilitators of my website and all kinds of things like that. Like right now, I need some work done on my website, and she's been doing some other work for me, and I was like, hey, I need something else. Just stand by. She's like, cool, do when you're ready, Kristen. So the amount of things I do in the day, I can feel myself getting in a rush. I got to get all this done. And I'll work my little patootie off, sometimes to the point where all of a sudden I'm starving, and I'm like, oh my God, I need to go eat something. And then I'm rushing through eating because I got to get back up to finish these things. And what I'm realizing is that, one, I do like what I do. Okay, this not work. Like hairstyling for me for 30 years was not work. I enjoyed every minute of it. And this is not work. I love what I do. I love being a content creator. I love being a coach. I love inspiring people. I love helping people shift and move and evolve and grow, even if it's just one little teeny tiny thing. Look what the lady that I listened to her talk this morning. I listened to her for 5 minutes, and she gave me one little thing. I was like, yep, that. And then my friend Andy Dooley, watching his reel today, yep, that, right? That's what I hope to do for other people. Well, good morning, Zara. And Julia, thank you, Julia. Good for you. Yay. Right? Because that's what I like to do, is I pat myself on the back, and I encourage you guys, anytime you have an awareness, just the awareness is all you need. Pat yourself on the back. Because many people are living in the dark. Many people aren't looking at themselves. And this is a choice. Again, we're back to free will. They're hiding from it. They're distracting from it. They're going the path of instant gratification. They're stuffing emotions. They're ignoring emotions. They're doing all those things. So if you have a self-awareness, that is the biggest heck yeah ever. Even if you do nothing at that moment with this awareness of self. It's just having it. Because if you're here and this path is not so lovely and you're not really having a super great time over here, for one, maybe some of the places in it are fine, but there's some that's not. Having that awareness of self, you go, bloop, your trajectory changes. Just that awareness changes your energy. Boom. You have brought in new information into your brain that is going to set you down a different path. Okay? And once you, now it doesn't mean that's the ultimate path, but you have gotten off the old one. This isn't serving. This is not fun. This isn't, you're not having a great time over here. We were put on this earth to have a great time. We weren't put here to struggle. We weren't put here to fail. We were put here to have a great time. As Mike Julie says, the cards are ridiculously stacked in our favor. I was just listening to a talk from his yesterday. He says, the universe is not neutral. Okay, so if this is negative, this is positive. The universe is not neutral. It is very much stacked in our favor. That's why we can sustain positive thoughts and affirmations attached to high feeling emotion, and stuff manifests so quickly. That's why. Because if we are in the negative with the negative emotions, and this can go on for years, right? It's not like all of a sudden we draw in every single teeny tiny negative thing to us. Can you imagine? Mike also says that 1 to 4 minutes of high vibing thinking and emotion will offset 18 hours of negativity. Look at those odds. That's incredible. So let me go back. The minute we have that self-awareness, we pat ourselves on the back. Good job. You got your own back. You're looking at what you can change, shift, heal, evolve, grow, and up-level. This is called the work. Now, I'm going to say this over and over again. Again, this is me being a boat rocker. It flips me out when everybody says, oh, the work is hard. Oh, the work is so hard. My God. I hear that no, it's not. Nope. You're just in your own way. You're just in your own way. What's hard is you're grooved in to your egoic, control, and fearful way of thinking. It's not hard to adopt a new thought, but this requires faith. It requires getting quiet and going into the spirit and going, does this feel true? One of the greatest things I ever did for myself is I questioned my thoughts, and I still do to this day. My whole point about being super busy is that I've not taken time for me. I'm sorry, I kind of bypassed not on purpose, but got sidetracked on that. The whole point of me being super busy is I haven't been taking time for me. So when I was saying go be alone, that's what I mean. But was to question my thoughts. I haven't had time to question my thoughts. No, I have time. I'm choosing not to have time. I'm choosing not to spend time alone. I'm choosing to be on the treadmill at the gym, writing lists of things I need to do, being productive, checking boxes, doing things that I need to do. Rather than, the other day I did do this though, you other guys. The other day I put on binaural beats on my headset, closed my eyes, held onto the rails, and I walked with my eyes closed in the gym. Because I knew I wasn't spending enough time with me. Poor little me. Me's been neglected. So we need to spend time with ourselves. We need to give ourselves attention because that's what's required. Because then what do? We go out there and we start looking for everybody else to give us attention. well, I'm not giving me attention. This isn't conscious. And we go to our boyfriend or our friend or the husband or the wife or the girlfriend or whatever it is. And we're like, I know somebody, I swear to God, this person calls about 50 people a day. He has a job that he drives, and he'll just pick up because he can't be with himself. And I used to be on that list until there was this thing that happened that had nothing to do with me. And put it this way, it was a male friend, and he got a female in his life who didn't like him to have female friends. So that's what happened. But I was on that list, and it was kind of fun. He called me, chat for 5 minutes, this what's going on, and okay, gotta go. But yet, it was his distraction. He continually was like speed dialing everybody constantly because he couldn't be with his own thoughts. We're doing ourselves a grave disservice by ignoring ourselves. Remember, we're trying to secure the inner child. Your inner child that was abandoned or neglected or abused or mistreated or unprotected, whatever it might be. An inner child that needed more than what it was getting. So lately I haven't been a good parent to myself. And that's a self-awareness. Now granted, I do meditate every night. I do meditate in the morning. I go to the gym. I'm doing those things, physically taking care of myself and my brain through meditation, but yet I can get on these little rolls and I have to stop and go, slow your roll. Oh my gosh, this was cool. The other day, my husband and I were driving. I don't know, I never remember details of things. I just know we were driving down the road, we were going somewhere, and we were talking, and I was sharing, because I do a lot of thinking out loud. I do a lot of processing like I'm doing with you guys right now as I'm sharing this with you, because I want to help you. First of all, if this is a place that you're stuck, I hope to inspire or motivate you. But I do it because I know that I can't get anybody else to fix me. I can only work on me. So I was driving down the road one day with my husband. I was going through I'm like, I'm feeling some kind of way about something. And I go, you know what I'm realizing? I need to slow down. And he points. Right there, we pass a sign that said, slow down. I didn't see it. It was way up there. He saw it way up there. I didn't see it. He goes, that was way up there as you were talking, Kristen. There's your sign. I didn't manifest that sign by saying I need to slow down, and then I see a sign. That sign was already there before I said it. That was a message from God Universe, Kristen Brown. Slow down. And at the same time, my husband goes, guess what? Guess what, honey? I do too. Okay? So self-awareness is key. By recognizing things about yourself, typically through emotions, because it's through our emotions, they are emotional guidance system designed purposefully, beautifully to serve us. Just like the cardiovascular, yes. Just like the cardiovascular system, the nervous system, the respiratory system. All of these systems are part of this whole. Thank you, Julia, for that message. The emotional guidance system is the same. It's designed purposefully so that we can recognize things that are going great and things that are not going so great. What needs our attention? So my little spiritual tantrum this morning, that's what I'm calling it. You notice I'm calling it a tantrum because I'm calling myself out. I didn't call it a spiritual breakdown or a moment of reflection or just in a mood, just not feeling good. Just needed to look at my wounds. I'm calling it what it is. It was a damn tantrum. I had a girlfriend that said this all the time. When she was feeling some kind of a way, she said, I just need to lick my wounds. That's all she said. Every time. Okay. Thank you, Julia. I just need to lick my wounds. Which means don't talk to me about it. Don't bring truth to this. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want awareness. I'm just going to sit in the corner in a ball and lick my wounds. And guess what her life did? She was stuck. And I didn't judge her. I held space for that, okay? It's not my journey. I learned a long time ago, if somebody doesn't want my opinion or my insight, that's okay. I'm not here to impose on anybody. So she didn't want it, but it wasn't just from me, it was from anybody. The other thing too is, here's the thing about being a truth teller. When you're a truth teller, when you want to talk capital T universal truth to people, they're either going to love you or they're going to loathe you. Because they're going to be bring it. Like Julia just said, I love listening to you. Because you know what you're saying, Julia? You're in this space yourself. You could probably give this talk. I'm just reminding you, just inspiring you where you're already inspired. But if someone was on here that's stuck in their story, exactly. If someone who's on here that's stuck in their story, they're not in here. They'd be giving me the middle finger up this thing, up in the comments there. Not necessarily, you guys, I'm just being funny. It's just my humor. But they'd be in for 30 seconds and they'd dip. They couldn't take it. They couldn't take it. Don't shine light on my wounds. Don't shine light on things that I need to know to heal. Because many times people are ashamed. And it's this hidden shame that you hear me talk about ad nauseum here on my channel that is the culprit. So if we have a lot of shame, hidden shame inside, we don't want to look at ourselves because that's going to freak us out. Oh my God, there's more? There's more that I got to be ashamed of? Where the dichotomy, is that the right word? Or the caveat, what's the word I'm looking for? Is that when you have the awareness, the shame starts to dissipate. It is the craziest thing. When we stop judging ourselves and say, hey, I just gaslighted that person. Or I was just a bully. Or I was projecting. Or I raised my voice and I shouldn't have. Whatever it is, whatever you need to own. I had a spiritual tantrum. There's expansiveness in that. Because it takes a whole lot of energy to hold yourself down. To keep that shame out of the light. Because things are happening in our life all the time to bring it up. Because guess what? Our inner world shines out there and our outer world reflects back to us. So the experiences we are having are a reflection of what's going on inside of ourselves so that we can see it. It's the most brilliant and beautiful design. We get to know about ourselves because it's right there, being reflected back to us. And we don't know what we don't know. Because I didn't know my outer world was reflecting back to me, or inner world. I had no idea for many years until I did. And when I did, I was blazing bejesus. I couldn't believe what I was seeing and what I had just learned. Like, this has been available to me all this time and I didn't know? I thought it was them. I thought it was them. Yeah, Julia had no idea. Because we don't. Julia had no idea either. Because we don't. Because we're teeny tiny baby humans we're here to learn. That's the whole point here, is a spiritual journey. That's the whole point. We come here whole and perfect. We get this wounding, these traumas, these dramas, these things that happens that cause programming, that moves us away from the unconditional love of self that we came here with. And the journey, the rest of the life here is returning back to this. Okay? And sometimes we return back. We're like, oh, this is great. But then something else happens that breaks us away, and then we return back again. Okay? Because I thought it was one and done. Because when I went through my massive awakening, I didn't even know what to call it when it happened. But now, just cultivating words around all of this for these many years, now I've realized it was a freaking awakening. When I went through that awakening, I was like, I'm done. I got peace. I got this figured out. And let me tell you something, I was peaceful. I no longer pendulum from super happy to super angry. I was right here in the middle with joy and appreciation and presence and gratitude. I was right here. And then what happened? Whoop, something bad happened. And then I was like, I could feel myself rocked, and I stayed rocked. And I was like, oh, we have to continue this. I get it. I didn't know that. But I give myself grace and forgiveness and compassion for not knowing, which is self-love, which is what I learned, which is what I preach, practicing grace and forgiveness of self, compassion and acceptance of self, respect and protection of self, positive and supportive self-talk, and physical self-care. 5 tenets of self-love right here in my book. Okay? When we can practice those things with self, we're going to heal in a way that is going to shift the entire way we see the world. And the more, here's what's even more fascinating, what I learned upon my journey. The more I know, the more I know that what I don't know. Which has gotten me to a point, at some point where I was like, am I even qualified to talk about this? Because I'm a work in progress. There's just so many more layers to uncover. And the answer is yes. And the reason why, because I put that out in the universe. Am I supposed to be doing this? Thank you, Julia Tamalo, for you. Am I even qualified for this? So I asked the universe, I'm like, I remember back in the beginning of this broadcast where I said, once we learn something, it is our duty to share it. It's our duty to give it. Okay? The answer is yes. Because people are going to meet you at wherever you're at. So whatever you're at in your teachings, there's hundreds of thousands of people that need to hear what you have to say. Could be even millions. And then when you up level, there's hundreds of thousands to millions of people that need to hear what you have to say here. And then here, and then here, and it goes on and on and on. If you've accumulated wisdom in your life, then you have something to share. I promise you. There is something that somebody needs to hear from you. Good morning, Andrea. Good morning. There is something that somebody needs to hear from you. So I want to go back to the spending time alone. We're coming up on the hour mark here. And I want to go back to, so what if you are in your spiritual tantrum? You're not happy. You're frustrated. You're mad. You're angry. You're upset. You're bored. You don't like the status quo. Sorry, you guys. I don't hate when my hair looks really flat. It just drives me nuts. You don't like the status quo with whatever's going on with you right now. And you can't seem to get out of it. Number one, do not distract. Allow it to be. And I realize that we have responsibilities and things that we need to take care of. All right, you can set it over there for a minute because you have a sick child. you know, someone's ill or you've got some work deadlines or whatever, you can, I don't want to say shelve it because it doesn't even need to be on the shelf. Put it on the kitchen counter for a second. Anything that I need to remember, you guys, I set on the kitchen counter. And my husband, who's very neat, will pick stuff up and I'm like, honey, if I don't have my vitamins right there, I'm not going to remember to take them. So don't put it on the shelf. Put it on the counter. Okay, just put it on the counter for a second while you go take care of things and then come back to it. And I'm saying figuratively, but you could do it literally if you want to. Hey, take some time to explore this feeling I was feeling today. Write yourself a sticky note. And then this is in relation to that it's being persistent for you and you can't. You're kind of stuck in the feeling of it. Then spend some time alone. The one thing that we are not taught enough of is how alone time is crucial to our expansion. I don't know about you guys, but I have a lot of people that like my attention. My husband likes my attention. My children love my attention. My dog likes my attention. My friends like my attention. I'm not saying any of that's wrong. But I can be fragmented out pretty easily. My clients and when I coach people, I'm just not one and done. You know, I will reach out to them and say, hey, how's it going over there? What's happening? You know, so there's a lot of moving parts in my life. But I need my own attention and you need your own attention. So go spend some time alone to process through this feeling. And here's the most important part. Ask yourself, what is this telling me? What am I not giving to me? What am I believing to be true? And is this true? Get curious. Ask yourself questions. Journal. You know, this is a weird thing about my spiritual journey, you guys, is that I didn't have a coach. I didn't have a mentor. This was me and God. I didn't even know it was me and God. I mean, I just knew I wasn't going to do that anymore. And I vowed to remain single and celibate until I figured out why I had this pattern. But being a spiritual person and being that I was meditating a lot at the time because I was in a very high level of anxiety and a lot of things were happening at that time. I had to get myself calm. And I'm not a drinker or drug doer or anything, so I didn't have any distractions. And I was just, you know, meditating. And I was talking to God a lot. And this journey started to happen. I forgot why I was telling you guys that. Oh, damn it. If anybody remembers why I started telling you that, would you put it in the chat? I think it was, maybe it had to do with spending time alone. Oh, no, journaling. So I had a lot of emotions and I had a lot of things that were coming up. You know, this was during my tsunami. And I just started writing because I was by this time we had moved into my mother's house. There's a lot of people there all the time. The TV was blaring with Walker, Texas Ranger that my Sicilian stepfather kept on like repeat all day long. And he was hard of hearing before he got his hearing aids and it was blaring. And I'd go in my room and I would just journal. And I would write. I bought those 5-star notebooks, the one with all the dividers. I went through about 5 of those. And sometimes they weren't pretty. I mean, to reread those might be entertaining. I'm just going to tell you. Because sometimes it was like, F this! In caps and underlines. And sometimes it was other stuff. But I would journal because I'm processing through. And they say the reason why journaling is so important. Again, no one told me to journal. I just needed to get the energy out. I was finding an outlet. And they say journaling is serving because it slows down the mind. Handwriting journaling, not typing journaling. You do what you can do, but I just want to express that. And so I believe that was a large integral part of my healing process is because I was journaling. Not only was I journaling dense emotions, I was journaling awakenings. I was journaling things that I figured out. I was journaling things that I wanted to experience. I was processing through emotions of the guy that I dated briefly after my tsunami ex left. This guy came in like 28 days or 21 days afterwards, like real soon afterwards. And I, you know, it repeated the same pattern. It was like the awakening, stress releasing. Yes, it is. Julia says it's stress releasing. And I was processing through all these emotions, and I realized how serving that was. One, because I was being alone with me. I was taking care of KB. But I was also working through feelings. When I moved out of that house, I had a stack of journals. And I remember going, do I move them to the new place? And I opened one, and I was like, whoa. The dense energy, the sadness, the fear, the frustration, everything was on that page. And I shut it, and I grabbed the whole entire stack and dumped them in the garbage can, the big garbage can outside. And I said, that's over. A lot of people keep their journals, and people said it would be fun to look back on those. I'm like, I looked back on that for 5 seconds, just standing over the trash can going, do I want this? And I was like, oh my God, I don't want this. And then I was like, should I burn them? I mean, this is like my life's, pains in this. Do I just dump them in the garbage? What do I do? And I said, yeah, that's exactly what you do, Kristen. It's going to a landfill or wherever, recycle. No one gives a shat about your journal. It's not like some family member's going to come. And if they did, they could, because I didn't have any shame around all that. I just didn't want that energy still in my house. It was serving. It was beautiful. They were wonderful. But I didn't want that. I didn't want those sitting over there on the shelf that one day I'd be tempted to go revisit that energy. I had up-leveled. Yeah. Thank you for agreeing, Julia. You know what I'm talking about. So they went into the garbage can, but they served me. They served me. And the spending time alone, walking, is a big deal for me. And I'm so glad that I don't live in a state that's super cold. Because, when it got, thank you, Andrea. Because when it got I'm in Phoenix, and North Phoenix, and it doesn't we may get a 34 degree evening in the winter, maybe 3 times. We might get super cold for a second. The desert can get cold, but it doesn't stay. It just we will have these little cold snaps for whatever reason. And we had a little cold snap there for a while where I get up in the morning and it's dark out and it's cold. And I was like, yeah, that's why I started going back to the gym. But it's getting warmer now. Like right now it says 57 on my thing here in the car. And I got to get back outside again. And my choice this morning was, do I get on a YouTube live or do I go walk? And I sat with that and I literally said, what's going to be more serving to my soul, my spirit right now? And it was being here with you guys. And I don't know who's going to join me. I don't know if anybody's going to join me. But knowing that my community of like-hearted and like-minded people are out there energetically, walking is Andrea's stress reliever as well. Yeah. And here's the thing too. I don't know about, thank you. You're welcome, Julia. I don't know about you guys, but if I'm not in a great place, if I have some angst inside of me, something swirling, I don't listen to anything on my walks. I do walking meditations. Well, I do walking meditations or I just free think. I just allow myself to free think. Because I will come up with things. The times that I don't is what do I feel like? I'm in a great place. I'm I feel like listening to somebody or, whatever. And sometimes I just don't. Sometimes I don't even think it's ever music. And I'm a huge musical person, but I really don't music on my walks. I don't know why. But anyway, my point is, spending that time alone is so incredibly serving. We need ourselves. And, have you ever, babies like to be held, right? They do. But have you ever held a baby that actually wants to be put down? It's just fussing and it just wants to walk, it just wants us to hold its hands while it walks around or wants to go crawl around on the floor. We're not designed to not be alone sometimes. We need that. But we're also designed, what came to mind right then is that solitary confinement in prisons is a punishment because we're not designed to be alone all the time. Okay? It's a balance. It's a balance. And so if we're having some type of spiritual tantrum, some type of mood, some type of suckiness that's going on within us, yes, especially alone. Oh, Andrea listens to my talks. Thank you, sis. And alone with God. Okay, I got to talk about that. Yes, if we're in some type of suckiness, just know you probably have the answer to your own problem. Don't immediately think you got to go get the attention by somebody else. You need your attention. Julia just said alone time with God. This is something that, again, upon reflection in my life, I've realized how important my alone time was as a youth. Somebody said the other day that they don't teach us to spend time alone when we're young. Like, that's not part of our upbringing, part of the morals and the values and the things that we're taught. But through... Okay, that was my publisher messaging me about the... I said that my ISBN wasn't working. I won't say what she said. But anyway, it was funny. So... it was through that alone time when I was young that I got really in touch with the reason why I believe I'm so intuitive. The reason why God's messages are so easy for me to hear. For the most part. You know, I'm not perfect by any stretch. But I spent a lot of time alone as a child, and I've told you guys this, like not because I was being neglected. I mean, this was the 70s. I've told you this before. We were feral. You know, parents worked. We stayed home alone. Latchkey kids, the whole thing. My mom was in and out of being a stay-at-home mom. But anyway, we didn't even lock our door, for God's sakes, our garage door. We never locked that door. You could do that back then. Anyway, but if the brothers were farmed out doing whatever they were doing, you know, my two older brothers were 5 and 7 years older than me. So you can imagine when I'm 7, they're, 14 and whatever, 7, 8, 9, 12. So they don't want to hang out with a 7-year-old girl. So they're off doing their own thing. My little brother was quite 3 years younger than me. So he'd be like 4. And my other brother, who's only 15 months apart from me, he was, off with his friends. The neighborhood was full of his guy friends. So I had a lot of time alone. And this, of course, as we're going, this is, changing. But I had a lot of time alone. So I would go do things like I was watching something the other day. I'm telling you this for a reason, you guys. I was watching something. What was I watching? I don't know, but it was something where it was showing nature. Oh, it was a Ram Dass 31-minute thing on Ram Dass on Netflix. And they were showing nature scenes. And it was showing this little tiny trickle of water, not very wide, kind of come down this rock formation. I don't know if he's still alive or not, but he's it's filmed in Hawaii, one of the Hawaiian islands. I'm not sure which one. So of course, the scenery there, and it's showing this. And I as I'm watching this on the big screen, I was thinking, as a child, I would have sat next to that trickle of water for hours, and I would have picked up sticks and I would have dug in the dirt and I would have made things with leaves, and I would just be in presence. And it was in that presence that I would hear. I used to say God was my playmate, because if I didn't have anybody to talk to, I talked to God, like any physical person, not knowing I was literally talking to God, but I was talking to God, and not knowing that God was going to talk back to me. So my point is of all that is that spending time alone, connecting to, we're already connected to Source, we always are, but awakening that connection, what would be a good word for that, you guys? We're always connected, but sometimes we're ignoring the connection. So getting back connected to the connection. This is live, I'm making words up. Is where the power is. That made me feel so good. Actually, I'm tearing up saying that. I needed to hear that. That's where the power is. Taking that time to be by ourselves. And that's going to sometimes require boundaries. And I'm a self-worth, recovery, and empowerment coach. Spiritual and empowerment coach is basically my easy title. And empowerment requires that we set and maintain healthy boundaries. Get connected to the source. Yeah. To set and maintain healthy boundaries. So, I remember back in the day where this was after Tsunami X left. We were still in the big house, and I was just a nervous wreck, and the kids were old enough. They'd come home from school, and I would say, sit with your sister, because she was little. She was like 3.5. And I said, watch her for me. I need 20 minutes. And I'd go upstairs to my room, and I'd shut the door, and I'd set a timer, because I'm very true to my words with my kids. And I remember at first they'd keep coming up there, Mom, and I'd say like 20 minutes. I'm resetting the timer every time you guys interrupt. And eventually they got, because 20 minutes goes by like that, they'd go get distracted with something, and then 20 minutes would go by. And I would be like, I just needed that 20 minutes, but it took a boundary. Because I was learning boundaries, like really learning boundaries. Because I had no problem speaking up my whole life, you guys. I could speak up about things that wasn't a thing. I'm a bully buster. There's things that I can't not speak up about that are wrong, and like injustice-wise. It was sticking up for myself. I could stick up for myself too, but I couldn't like hold the line. I didn't even know I had to. I thought you just speak your boundary and people did what you needed. That they stopped being that a-hole because you asked them not to. That's how I thought it went. Nope. Sometimes word boundaries needed to be followed up with action, but I didn't know that yet. So anyway, was just now learning this, and I would take that time, and man, that 20 minutes, it was such a refresher. I also took a bath every single night after my kids went to bed. And I meditated and I relaxed. That's what I did every single night, for the most part. Probably not every single night. I don't know. I try to be true to my word, and I'm not sure that's exact, but anyway. And I would just lay there and deep breathe. And then I realized I really need alone time. And I was a person who was that introvert extrovert, but always considered myself an extrovert. Here's another thing that I'm going to rock the boat about, that people like the labels. I thought I was an extrovert, but what I really needed was a lot of outside attention. So people would always say, oh, you're an extrovert. And as I healed and grew, I realized I wasn't a freaking extrovert. I just needed a lot of people. I needed a lot of attention. I needed a lot of something coming at me so I could feel like I mattered. Because once I healed that inside of me, it was an introvert that came out, because I don't believe I'm an introvert either. I just believe that I no longer required that much attention. That I was okay with being with myself, because I didn't have these holes and wounds inside of me that while I was around a lot of people, if someone smiled or laughed or talked to me or whatever they did, and it wasn't this black and white, you guys must understand that. Julia's agreeing to this, I guess. I'm not sure if we're having a delay today. You know what? What I realized is when sometimes I watched my lives after the fact, there was little blips in the service, like in the streaming. So if that ever happens, you guys, where I cut out, let me know and I will change spots. Okay, because that could be why there was delays. Anyway, I don't know how good the streaming is today. But I realized that it was really that wounded part of me that wanted to be around people, and also that one of my Masks was fun girl. Fun girl, easygoing girl. Masks, in my definition, is when we develop those wounds. It is real time. Okay, cool. Right on. Thank you. When we develop those wounds growing up, right, where we get the programming because the outside world starts to, everybody says your parents. It's not just your parents. That's another boat rocker. Okay? My parents, I grew up in a religion that was fear-based for the most part. I think it's evolving now. Fear God, you're going to hell, all those type of things. But my parents weren't doing that to me. It was the neighborhood kids that were talking about my religion. It was through them that I was feeling like, oh my God, I'm a piece of crap. I'm going to hell. All of these things, the judgment. So a lot of times people are like, oh, it's from the wounding from our parents. It's not just the parents. It can be. Sometimes it's not even the parents. It's society. It's fear-based religions. It's, when I say society, society's rules. They got to look like the, have you guys noticed that Body Beautiful, the idea of perfection, has changed dramatically over the years? And we're listening to society that we're supposed to have big boobs or small boobs or big butts or small butts or this size penis or this biceps or whatever, long hair, short hair, bald hair. And all of that is incorrect. But if we're being told this, if this is what's on the cover of Elle magazine, if this is what the supermodels look like, if this is what blah, 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 then it's a society that's wounding us. It's not just people. It's not just our parents. Because people want to think it's our parents. Yes, some of the wounding can come from our parents. Anyway, I digress. The point that I'm trying to make is that when we have self-awareness, when we can look at the places that we're wounded, we can begin to heal. I did not know that I needed a lot of attention, that I needed a lot of validation. Validation might be a better word because it's not like, yes, Andrea had to leave that behind for her own good. You guys are rock stars. I'm so glad you're here in my community, our community. Empowerment. Okay, I have write down empowerment and then emphasize we, or write the we in the middle of it in all caps. Empowerment. I had a graphic once that said that. Anyway, oh God, people, I'm sorry, I forgot to turn off my notifications again. All right. But my point is I didn't realize I needed that much validation. I didn't realize that I thought I sucked so much. I had no idea because this is unconscious. Okay? My wounding turned into people pleasing. It focusing on everybody else. Sometimes our wounding turns into varying degrees of selfishness up through narcissism, depending where we are focusing on self. Same wounding that branches off into one of two ways. Okay? Hyper focus on the needs of other people, hyper focus on our own needs. The problem is the word hyper. Okay? Because it's okay to focus on the needs of other people. It's okay to focus on our own needs. But hyper focusing on the needs of other people is people pleasing and codependency. Hyper focusing on our own needs is selfishness / hyper independence / guardedness, and also can be / narcissism. That's another narrative that I turn on its head. Just because someone gaslights doesn't mean they're a narcissist. I had someone fight me on that recently in a short that I made. They're like, that's not true, this and that. Okay. I've gaslighted probably people before the term was even known. And I'm not a narcissist. I'm a hardcore people pleaser. I've had people-pleasing family members gaslight. Yes, it can be part of it. Yes, to the extent that maybe a narcissist used it. Yes, maybe because they have no self-awareness. It is one of their main tools. But a gaslighter in and of themselves doesn't make an automatic narcissist. Get what I'm saying, you guys? What's important is that we heal the hidden shame and unworthiness inside ourselves. That will clean up whatever direction we went on the spectrum. The difference between this, though, is that, again, narcissists think, or a true narcissist, they think they're smarter than everybody else. They think everybody else has got it wrong. They think they know it all, whatever. There's not a lot of self-awareness going on over here. Okay? People pleasers tend to be more self-aware because we're trying to be everything for everybody. So even though the self-awareness might go down, hold on, I gotta stretch my back, go down a negative path, it might go down like too much, it's still self-awareness. Okay? So when we can go within and we can look at ourselves and we can say, okay, what am I noticing about me? Taking responsibility for ourselves is key. Key. I started to look at a lot of the things that I was doing, or a lot of my places through healing, by noticing my projections. Once I learned about projections, oh, let me figure this out. So the minute I judged somebody about something, I said, where's that inside of you, Kristen? And I mean judgment. I'm not talking observation where you're just noticing, okay? I always use this example. You can notice someone's being jealous and not be a big deal. You can observe that in a person. It's when you're like, oh my God, that person is so jealous. You know, it's how I get my Valley Girl when I talk judgment. You know what I'm saying? It's that it's got that it's got that yuck to it. That's judgment. So if I'm judging someone about being jealous, I'm going to go within and I'm going to say, where are you jealous, Kristen? All right? And I'm going to notice that inside of me. And when I clean up that, and first of all, thank you for that projection to show me myself, to show me a wounded place of myself so I could heal myself. And then I clean that up inside of myself and I will stop seeing that in the world. The whole spiritual journey is fascinating AF. It blows my mind. It blows my mind the way things work. But the most important thing that I've learned is that I cannot control others. I can say, hey, that's not okay, but I can't change them. That's their job. And if they decide to impart some type of disrespect, dishonor, or some type of abuse to me, and I ask them to please not do that, and they continue to, who can I control? I can control me by removing myself from that situation. I can respect and protect KB. Self-love tenet, right there. Applying self-love. Moves me away from that person. That person gets the choice. If they want to be in my energetic space, they got to clean up that behavior, or KB is going to dip again. And there's some people in our lives that just have bad habits and patterns. You know, doesn't necessarily make them a narcissist, right? They've got some weird coping mechanisms or defense mechanisms that were put into place in their youth to help them to survive, that actually served them in childhood, but is no longer serving them in adulthood. So they bring that behavior forward, and unless or until they are called out on that consistently, they are unconscious. Remember earlier when me and Julia, I think it was, were talking about we didn't know what we didn't know? They don't know what they don't know. But if you're assuming they're going to know and that they should just know, which is one of the biggest faults we can have in a relationship, well, they should know. Well, they should know. Dudes, I remember saying that in like junior high school. Well, they should know. I was all righteous and thinking everybody should know everything. They don't. They don't. And I remember a person in my inner circle, because I communicate a lot, and this person didn't like it. They're like, you just think you have to talk about everything. And they were trying to cut down my communication. I said, I can't assume that you know. And guess what? They didn't know. But the fact that I was speaking up was ruffling feathers because they were being forced to look at something inside themselves. They didn't like it, so they wanted to make me wrong in attempts to shut me down. In the past, that might have worked. It doesn't work anymore at this age. It's like, no, your lack of wanting to take responsibility doesn't mean I need to stop pointing it out. And I heard this quote one time, you guys. It was so great. God, I'll screw it up because I do that, but you'll get the gist of it. It was something like, Julia says exactly, it was something like this. If you don't want someone pointing out your shitty behaviors, don't have shitty behaviors. Mic drop. You don't want to be called out for it. Stop doing it. I just got the low power mode, you guys, so I'm going to have to dip here in a second. Okay? Oh, it's 90 minutes too. Okay? So when somebody that you are around doesn't want you talking truth to them, that's because they don't want that self-awareness. They don't want you shining light on their cobwebs. That is not your job to play small and to quiet. Your job is to respect and protect yourself above all else, and that's going to require a word and sometimes action boundaries. So when you set those, your person, if they're self-aware, is going to be like, oh my God, my bad. I'm sorry. You know, I'll work on that. I don't want that to happen again, or, you know, whatever. Or they'll be like, you're wrong, 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 which is gaslighting. Okay, turning it around on you, trying to make you crazy for the way you think, the way you feel. Let's not make gaslighting any more crazy than it is. It's just someone not owning their shish. I'm a cusser, you guys, but someone said I shouldn't cuss because when I get monetized, that some people might want to do that. But then again, I know other people that are cussing a lot here, so I think I'm just going to be me. Again, back to the beginning, what I was saying here, where I was feeling like I was supposed to maneuver in a certain way that's outside of my natural way of being. I like curse words to express myself. I don't curse a lot, but I like them. I'm just going to own it. All right, you guys, it has been 92 minutes and my battery is dying. So I just want to give you guys a big thank you for being here. And if you could hit the like button, that would be awesome. And give me a little thumbs up. And if you have someone in your life that you think would benefit from this talk today, these really are, they're like motivational or inspirational speeches. I'm sitting in my car stage, but that's really what these are, because they're free-flowing talks. And I had to own public speaking at some point, because public speaking, being a public speaker, meant to me that I was going to have to go do something scary, like get on a stage with 5,000 people. I'm already a public speaker. I had to own that. I had to have the self-awareness that I'm already a public speaker, and that standing on a stage of 5,000 people would probably not freak me out if I spoke from my heart. Thank you, Julia. And thank you, Andrea, both of you, for commenting. And someone else popped in there and said hello, but I don't remember what the name was. I want to say thank you for your comment too. And I just want to tell everybody that I really appreciate you. I love you being here. I love learning with you. I love growing with you. I love sharing with you. And I appreciate your support of my channel. All right, you guys, so much love to each and every one of you. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to our next go around. Peace, everybody.